Hi guys, so today I'm with Michael Berryman. Hi Michael, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well. I'm in Canada today, and this is a great show.
Perfect. First question. Pluto is terrifying but human. What small choice made him feel real, not just a monster?
Well, good question. When I brought Pluto to life, Pluto was very practical. For instance, when we attack the family and we leave, if you notice when I go into the refrigerator, I take the meat, and the last few things I leave on the door shelf is a green and red apple and some soda pops. So in other words, Pluto knew how to survive. And then when I'm talking to Mars later, he goes, "Yeah, they still have a gun." And I said, "Yeah, but I've got the bullets." So I tried to make Pluto, he was funny, but he was also very cunning.
Yeah, okay. That's funny. Second question. You endured desert heat on Hills Have Eyes. What survival habit did you learn on that shoot?
Well, okay, when we were doing the Hills Have Eyes, I tried to keep it reality-based, meaning, like I said, Pluto made sure he had the ammunition. He also he was practical. Like Pluto could do all of the sounds of all the other animals, for instance, and I think he was a lot more clever than Mars. He was a little more grounded than Papa Jupe, for instance. He was more emotional. But Pluto was very funny. Like when Pluto gets attacked by the dog and he chews up my ankle, you know, he actually has a breakdown moment where he's kind of laughing, you know, at his own mortality. So the idea of Hills Have Eyes is that the two families were basically parallel, meaning anybody could be dangerous under the right conditions.
That's cool. Third question. Cuckoo's Nest isn't horror, but it's intense. Did that atmosphere change how you approach menace?
No, Cuckoo's Nest was more humanity rising than anything else. My father was John Sloan Berryman. He was a world-famous brain surgeon. He was Muhammad Ali's brain surgeon. And when I had a chance to do Cuckoo's Nest, it was because of course, how I look. My skull was reconstructed when I was 4 years old. I had one haircut to accommodate the surgery. My dad was at Hiroshima and Nagasaki at Ground Zero. He was a Marine Corps brain surgeon. And of course, he came home radiated and I had birth defects. Now, I also used to go with my father to state hospitals and see how people were cared for or not very well cared for under various medical situations and contracts with, you know, governments and states. I always felt that if humanity is important in a civilization, it can be observed through how well we treat those that have special needs. For those of us that have the least protection, whatever level that might be, if it's a good level of care, that raises the consciousness and it gives you kind of a wink and a nod to humanity is rising and the society is doing a good job. That was a real active hospital at the time. They actually performed a lobotomy while we were there. Yeah, it was very eye-opening.
That's pretty fun. Fourth question. Weird science let you be larger than life. How does comedy help you build memorable villains?
Well, when I went to grammar school, one of my classmates was Richard Skelton, Red Skelton's son, and I loved watching this show. We used to go over to the house, to Red Skelton's house, and I would be reading comic books, for instance, with his son Richard. Red would come into the room sometimes and sit on the floor like a little kid and read comic books with us. He was a wonderful, wonderful human being. Now, the idea of doing weird science was just delightful because, you know, we weren't scary. We were just giving a challenge to the boys to be heroes, you know, for Kelly. And when I went to exit after the whole situation where the boys conquer the moment and Vernon Wells leaves, and I'm the last one to leave, my director came up to me and he said, we're going to end the scene on you. I want you to say something interesting or funny, and then you exit. So, of course, when I apologize and say I don't want to lose my teaching job, that worked very well. And then I take the bike and I'm exiting across the room, and halfway across the room, I look over my shoulder and I go, God bless, and then I keep moving. And I did it while I was moving because that way they couldn't cut it away, because if they did, all of a sudden I'd jump that far. And I said God bless because that's what Red Skelton used to say at the end of his show. One day the studio said, "Oh, you can't say God bless on," and Red Skelton said, "Really? What is the name of the show?" "It's the Red Skelton Show." So, in other words, the man had integrity, is my point. So, my appreciation for the comedy of Red Skelton and his humanity is what I chose to use, a moment that was funny and relevant to the scene, but also a wink and a nod to a wonderful human being.
Yeah, okay, that's pretty fun. And last question. How did working with Wes Craven on The Hills Have Eyes shape the way you build fear through character, not just makeup or costume?
Well, working with Wes, I mean, it was guerrilla filmmaking. We shot in 16 millimeter. We didn't have a large budget. We had to be very tuned into our scenes. Like when I went to chop up the trailer, couldn't replace anything. We had to get it all in one take. So that required, focus. And when I get pulled off of Brenda, the screen goes black because that's my head smashing into the camera. Yeah. And then when I take the hatchet and I chop up the divider, a splinter went all the way through my hand. But we got it in one take. We couldn't afford to rebuild what we broke. So I would say it was working together as a team. I still keep in touch with Brenda, Susan Lanier, who played Brenda, and Dee Wallace, of course. We became a family. I went to Wes Craven's wedding, and I said goodbye to him at his funeral. So sometimes in this industry that we work in, we create friendships for life, and it's very, very important.
Oh, well, that's so sweet. And well, thank you so much, Michael, and hope to see you next time.